Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us today.
It's great to be back.
Today we're going to be tackling something I think that's probably on a lot of people's minds these days,
Yeah?
which is, how to not just survive, but really thrive in today's business world.
Right.
And we're going to be looking at an excerpt from Victor Loom's How to Survive in Today's Rapidly Changing Business World, Continuous Improvement.
Oh, yeah. I've read that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. I think we could pull some really good advice out of this for our listeners.
Oh, for sure.
So we're going to kind of treat this like a mini masterclass, all packed into one deep dive.
I love it.
So yeah, why don't we just jump right in?
Let's do it.
So the first thing that really jumped out at me when I was reading through this was Liam's argument that just doing your job well just isn't enough anymore. And I got to say, at first that kind of felt a little bit counterintuitive to me.
Yeah.
Because shouldn't a job well done be, enough?
You would think so, right?
Mhm.
You would think so. But what's really interesting is he connects this to the bigger picture.
Okay.
We're living in a time with just crazy technological advancements. Everything is changing so fast.
Yeah.
AI, Web3 globalization, it's all happening at once.
Yeah. It's a lot to keep up with.
It is. And Lung's point is that if you're just keeping up with your tasks, like the bare minimum, you're already falling behind.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's like the goalposts are constantly moving.
Yeah. Far.
And what was considered like above and beyond yesterday
Mhm.
is just baseline today.
Exactly. And he makes a really good point about how, people can fall into that trap of just focusing on like those surface level tasks, like
Yeah.
endless reports or the obligatory networking events.
Right.
But those things never really move the needle in the long term.
Right. They just keep you busy.
Yeah, they keep you busy, they keep you comfortable, but they don't get you where you need to go.
So instead, he's suggesting that we should really prioritize personal growth and developing new skills, which, makes sense. But it's like, how do you even find the time for that when you're already swamped?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
But Leum says it's all about making those conscious choices.
Okay.
Could you swap out an hour of like mindless scrolling on your phone with an online course?
Okay.
Or maybe skip that networking event and, spend some time reading an industry publication, really diving deep into something.
So it's more about quality over quantity, in a way.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's about being really intentional with your time and energy.
Okay, so it's like investing in your future self.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
And speaking of investing, another thing that really caught my eye was Jung's idea of becoming irreplaceable.
Uh-huh.
But I have to admit, my first thought was like, wait, I just want to be valuable, not totally indispensable.
Yeah, I get that it's a natural concern because being indispensable can actually backfire on you.
How so?
You can become a bottleneck. Everyone relies on you for everything.
Oh, I see.
And that can actually limit your own growth.
Right.
Lynn's idea of irreplaceability is different, though. He's talking about cultivating a unique set of skills so you're recognized for the distinct value that you bring.
Okay.
So think of it less like being indispensable and more like being a linchpin.
Okay, I like that, a linchpin.
Someone who drives tangible value through their expertise.
So it's not about being the only one who can do something,
Right.
but being like the best person to go to for a specific set of skills.
Exactly. You become the go-to expert in your niche.
Oh, okay. That's a much better way to think about it.
Yeah, and this has really interesting implications for your career, too.
Like what?
Well, more opportunities are going to come your way. You'll be more resilient during, economic shifts, and you'll have an easier time transitioning between roles or even industries.
So it really gives you a competitive edge.
It does. It really does.
It makes you think about what you're actively doing to hone those skills.
Yeah, what makes you stand out? What makes you different?
Right. What are those things that make you...
Exactly.
So we've got continuous learning, we've got becoming irreplaceable,
Uh-huh.
but Loom doesn't stop there. He also talks about this idea of proactive problem solving.
That's a big one.
Okay, so we're not just sharpening our skills, we're also like becoming problem-solving ninjas now.
It's kind of like that, yeah.
I'm intrigued. I got to know more about this, but what does that actually look like in practice?
Well,
I mean, it sounds great in theory, but how do you actually become a proactive problem solver?
that's a good question.
Yeah.
It starts with moving beyond just following instructions,
Go ahead.
Ling encourages us to dig deeper and understand the why behind what we're doing.
Okay.
It's about questioning assumptions and constantly adapting our goals as the situation changes.
So it's not just about putting out fires.
No.
You're trying to prevent the fires from starting in the first place.
Exactly. And he uses this great example of how, market dynamics and user perceptions are constantly shifting.
Yeah, they definitely are.
So if we're too rigidly focused on, a fixed set of objectives, we're probably going to miss those crucial shifts and fall behind.
Right, so you got to stay flexible.
Adaptability is key, he says.
Which makes total sense.
Yeah.
When you think about how fast things are changing these days.
Right.
But how do you actually cultivate that adaptability?
Whoa.
How do you go from being rigid to being flexible?
That's where the idea of internal adaptability comes in.
Internal adaptability.
It's about being willing to let go of those old assumptions and being open to new possibilities.
So it's like a mental shift.
It is.
Okay.
And it takes a certain level of self-awareness, too. You have to be able to reflect on your own biases and your preconceived notions about things.
So it's like we need to become students of our own thinking processes.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's deep.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, so we've got continuous learning. We've got becoming irreplaceable. We've got proactive problem solving. We've got internal adaptability.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
But it's all connected.
And it's all connected.
Yeah.
I think we've got a lot more to unpack here.
We do. Maybe we should take a break.
Yeah, let's take a break, and we'll come back and we'll dive even deeper into this idea of internal adaptability.
Sounds good.
So before the break, we were really getting into this idea of internal adaptability and how important it is in today's, constantly changing world.
Yeah, it's really about, being able to adapt and evolve to stay ahead of the curve.
Right. And Lu Jung actually talks a lot about the importance of self-inspiration in this context.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's like it's not just about, absorbing information like a sponge.
Right.
It's about actively seeking out new knowledge.
Right.
And finding ways to stay motivated and engaged in your own growth.
So it's more than just, passively waiting for information to come to you.
Yeah, exactly. It's about taking ownership of your own development.
I like that.
And he even suggests that, we should regularly take some time to reflect on our goals and values.
Okay.
Asking ourselves those big questions like, what do I really want? And does this align with my long-term vision?
Those are good questions to ask yourself, for sure.
Yeah, and it's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day, and lose sight of that bigger picture.
Oh, absolutely. It happens to everyone.
Right. So taking that time to reconnect with your own aspirations can really help you stay focused and make sure that the work you're doing is actually meaningful.
It's about finding that internal drive that keeps you going.
Right. Exactly. And speaking of, staying ahead of the curve and finding that drive, Lu Jung also talks about developing abstract thinking skills.
Abstract thinking.
Yeah. Have you heard of this before?
I have, actually. It's a fascinating concept.
Yeah. It sounds a little bit like a superpower.
It kind of is.
So what is it exactly?
Well, Loom describes it as the ability to take concrete experiences and turn them into broader insights. Really? Insights that can be applied to different situations.
Okay. So it's not just about learning from your mistakes.
Yeah.
It's about actively looking for the lessons in every experience, good or bad.
Exactly. It's about recognizing the patterns and principles that are at play and then figuring out how those can be applied to different contexts.
Even contexts that seem completely unrelated.
Even those, it's about connecting the dots, seeing the bigger picture.
So it's like creating a mental framework based on your experiences.
That's a great way to put it.
And then you can use that framework to analyze new situations.
And come up with creative solutions.
Exactly.
It's like building a mental toolbox.
A mental toolbox. I like that.
Yeah, full of strategies that you can draw on whenever you face a new challenge.
That's awesome. So how do you actually, build that mental toolbox?
Well, Loam suggests a really helpful exercise.
Okay.
Take a specific experience you've had.
Okay.
Identify the key takeaways from that experience, and then brainstorm how those insights could be applied to a current challenge you're facing.
So you're basically turning your past experiences into a source of inspiration and guidance for the future.
Exactly. And as you build that mental toolbox, proactive problem solving becomes even more important.
Okay, so we're back to the problem-solving ninjas.
We are.
I love it. But I'm still trying to figure out, what that looks like on a day-to-day basis. Like, how do you actually do it?
Well, it's about asking the right questions, even when things seem to be running smoothly.
Yeah.
Leung suggests we ask ourselves things like, what's the real issue here? Or how do our users genuinely feel about this?
So you're going deeper than the surface level
Exactly. You're trying to understand the root cause of a problem.
before it becomes a major crisis.
Exactly. It's about anticipating those challenges before they become roadblocks.
So you're not just reacting, you're being proactive.
Exactly. And that ties back to adaptability, being able to adjust our goals and strategies as things change.
Which can be tough because, we get so used to our routines and expectations.
It can be, but that's why internal adaptability is so crucial.
Right. Being willing to let go of old assumptions and be open to new possibilities.
Exactly. And it takes self-awareness, to be able to reflect on our own biases and preconceptions.
Yeah, it's like we have to become students of our own thinking process.
I like that.
Right. Understanding how we approach problems, how we make decisions, what our strengths and weaknesses are.
That self-awareness is essential for continuous improvement.
It is.
Yeah.
It makes me think about all those times when I've been so focused on one solution that I completely missed other potentially better options.
Right. It's like getting stuck in a mental rut.
Exactly. And Loon talks about this too. He emphasizes the importance of cultivating a mindset of curiosity and open-mindedness. So it's not just about accumulating knowledge. It's about being open to new ways of thinking.
And new ways of approaching challenges.
It's about embracing the unknown.
And being comfortable with not always having all the answers.
Which can be a little scary sometimes.
It can be, but it's also where the real magic happens.
The magic happens when you're outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, when you embrace the discomfort that comes with learning and growth.
Because that's where the breakthroughs happen. Wow. I never thought about it like that before.
It's a powerful way to look at it.
It is, and it brings us back to continuous learning and self-inspiration.
Yeah, in today's world, it's not enough to just acquire knowledge.
You have to actively engage with it, challenge it, and constantly be seeking out new information.
It's a lifelong commitment.
To learning and growth.
Yes, both professionally and personally.
And that's what makes this whole journey of continuous improvement so exciting.
It really is. It's a never-ending process of discovery and growth.
It's like an adventure.
It is.
And on that note, I think it's time for us to move on to the final part of our deep dive.
I'm ready.
Let's do it. We'll be right back after a quick break. All right, so we're back, and we spent this whole deep dive unpacking Victor Lung's How to Survive in Today's Rapidly Changing Business World.
Yeah, it's a real treasure trove of insights.
It is, and we've been focusing on this idea of continuous improvement, as the real key to thriving in today's crazy business world.
Absolutely. It's not enough to just survive anymore. You got to thrive.
You got to thrive, and Loon gives us a really great roadmap for how to do that.
He does. He lays out some really clear steps.
He does. So I think it's time for us to, bring it all together.
Yeah.
What are the big takeaways here?
All right. So the first big takeaway is that it's not enough to just do your job well.
Right. We talked about that.
You have to constantly be learning, growing, developing new skills.
And not just any skills, right?
Right.
It's about developing those skills that make you uniquely valuable.
Exactly. The ones that set you apart from the crowd.
The ones that make you irreplaceable.
Exactly. Loon calls it becoming irreplaceable.
Right. And we talked about how that doesn't mean being indispensable in a way that creates bottlenecks or limits your own growth.
Right. It's not about being the only one who can do something.
It's about being the best person to go to for a specific set of skills.
You become the go-to expert.
The linchpin.
Exactly.
And that requires proactive problem solving.
Yes. Anticipating challenges and adapting to change.
Adaptability, that's another huge takeaway.
It is, being open to new ideas and willing to adjust your goals.
But how do you actually cultivate adaptability?
Ling talks about internal adaptability.
Right.
It's about shifting your mindset from rigidity to flexibility.
Okay, so being open to new possibilities.
Exactly. Letting go of old assumptions.
And that takes self-awareness.
It does. You need to reflect on your own biases, your preconceived notions.
Becoming a student of your own thinking process.
I like that.
And then there's abstract thinking.
Ah, yes, abstract thinking.
That ability to take concrete experiences and turn them into broader insights.
It's like building a mental toolbox.
Full of knowledge and strategies.
That you can use to solve new problems and come up with innovative ideas.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with something to really think about.
Okay.
What's that one big question they should be asking themselves?
I've got a good one.
Okay, let's hear it.
Think about one specific skill that you're known for at work.
Okay, the thing that people come to you for.
Exactly the thing you excel at.
Okay, got it.
Now here's the challenge. How can you build upon that skill to become even more distinctive and valuable?
Wow.
How can you take that strength and push it even further?
So it's not enough to just be good at something.
Right.
You have to constantly be looking for ways to improve.
To innovate, to differentiate yourself.
Because the world is changing.
It is, and the future belongs to those who embrace growth and continuous learning.
Those who are willing to step outside their comfort zone.
And become truly irreplaceable.
That's a powerful message.
It is.
And on that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
It has. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.